da se snima. Sad nemoj da bežiš iz kadra, sad si bila u kadru. Nemoj da bježiš, vidiš kako su nam dobro boje, kontrast fin.
Glavnem, hotela sem predstaviti Zlatka na kratko in nocojšnji večer. Res lepo, da ste prišli. Tudi fajn, da nas ni več, ker bi bila šoferka. Skratka, Zlatko je tukaj na kratki rezidenci. Vse skupaj sva se zelo na hitro dogovorila. Enkrat mi piše, daj Nataša, neko pozivno pismo mi treba za neki grant, pa još ove godine, ajde, evo ti pismo, takoj hiter javi, da je dobil grant in je šel snemat na Gorenjsko in pač od četrtka po noč do jutra popoldan bo na tej rezidenci. Kaj je pripravo, bo sam malo bolj pojasnil. Drugače Zlatko tam smo že sodelovali, leta 2020 bo Smozi, ko je bil tam na rezidenci. Smo tudi posneli muziko, sodeloval je z Jako Bergerjem, Borisom Janje in Urško Prajs. Takrat v različnih variacijah so igrali. Zvočni zapis tega je na Bandcampu in drugače pa Zlatko je najbolj usposobljen kot glasbeni tehnologija v tej glasbenoj tehnologiji. Končal je tudi sonologijo na Nizozemskem, na Kraljevem konzervatoriju v Hagu in pol še doktoriral v Birminghamu na univerzi, kjer je tudi poučeval 17 let. Človek narave, šumski človek.
Zlato.
Ja, to se vidim. In je nekako to svojo strast do narave, pohodništva združil zdaj z tem projektom zvočnih posnetkov. Tako da v 3 delih bo potekal današnji večer, nocojšnji večer, se pravi predavanje, onda poslušanje, demonstracija in onda kviz sa nagradom.
Sa nagradom.
Kaži ti nagradu, koja će biti?
Pa hoćeš ti ovu tvoju nagradu?
Moju nagradu. Njegova nagrada je bila eno granatno jabolko, moja nagrada je pa celoletna vstupnina na vse naše dogodke. Tako da zgrabite se.
Hvala.
Sada predajem.
Hvala na gostoprimstvu. Opa. Samo malo da se ja snađem ovdje. Aha, evo ga. Znači, I think I'll speak English. Yeah, everyone is fine with that. I could speak Serbo-Croatian, obviously, but actually the terms that I'm about to use kind of work in English for me easier as well. So, this was, as Natasha said, a very quick acting proposal, which was successful, and it involved me hiking, which was probably the main purpose. And obviously I took a lot of recording equipment, and I was really interested in finding out, kind of trying to be experimental. The initial idea was to record the spaces, the reverberation, right? So the whole project is about artificial reverberation. But actually, as I was in the field, I've figured that the sound of the waters is crucially the most impressive compared to, a cliff. I didn't really go into caves. Maybe next year, if we do something similar, it might be the caves. But pretty soon, I started focusing on the water. So the interesting thing, I'll try to introduce it from zooming out, essentially by saying that I'm deriving reverberation from the sound of water. Okay, so the reverberation that I will show you in different ways is not the sound of the spaces that I visited, but it's derived from the water. Now, the reason this works well is because these streams and waterfalls have a broad spectrum, meaning that there is a lot of bass, there is also subs, a lot of highs, mids. All the frequencies are rich, I could say, in sound, especially if I equalize it a bit. So all the recordings have been equalized to, push the subs to really hear a lot of detail. So it's a kind of a microscopic entrance into the sound, more than what you expect to hear when you're there. Okay? So I'll talk a bit about, I don't know how interested you are in the background of artificial reverberation. We'll see, I'll spend a bit of time talking about that. And then I'll show you essentially what I've done. I have 208 reverberation kernels. So actually I'll probably start with that. Oh, and before everything, I've prepared a joke. You have to learn how to say Pécsi Tudomány Egyetem. Very good. So that's the main sponsor, and the secondary sponsor is Kud Mrežane. So thanks to both institutions. And so the interesting thing, I'd like to share a metaphor, probably one of my favorite ones, which relates to the idea of point source and point receivers. So actually in acoustics, in order to do basic calculations, we have to assume a point source and a point receiver, which is actually non-existent. There is no such thing. So every membrane is an object in space, which has a lot of, characteristics, and it's actually not, there is no connection essentially, mostly because if you imagine the surface of an ocean, okay, imagine like waving ocean surface. And I tell you that I'm going to represent this ocean by measuring one point going up and down. You see, that's what we're doing when we put a microphone to record something, right? Because the acoustic space that we inhabit is hugely complex. And in fact, we have evolved capacity to detect really minute things. You might know that blind people can avoid a wall by clicking while they're walking around in closed spaces, because you can actually detect the reflection of the wall in front of you. So actually we have, and most of all, you can never be fooled that there is a sound source in a room or a speaker in the room. Right, as soon as you put something to the speaker, you kind of know it's coming from a speaker. Obviously, there are some really good systems, but essentially, it's really difficult to fool someone, if there is an actual instrument. And that's because it's a large body and it projects in every direction a different sound character. And we are sensitive in certain ways to this. And obviously, if you develop this, especially then. So that's the first point, that it's quite complex what happens in a room. And outdoors, by the way, obviously. So try to imagine a 3D ocean surface. That's what I'm saying, you see. So it's not just, it's curious to consider that in acoustics, if we model high frequency behavior, we do very well with the model of an arrow, like a direction, a path in space. It works pretty well. But actually, as soon as we get to the bass frequency, we're better off considering the wave front. So the fact that energy is spreading spherically, right? So if anything happens anywhere in space, what happens is that in the shape of a sphere, this vibration starts spreading. So you can keep imagining the 3D ocean surface, right? And then as soon as it reaches any surface, anything like that, you get reflections which are also circular like that. right? So already here, you cannot say that the sound has a direction to start with, and therefore, the acoustic field is just hugely complex. And that's actually what I'm trying to do here. I mean, I'm really very surprised how well this system here sounds, because you see, we're trying to fill the space more so than produce a source, right? So there is also this idea of a phantom source, right? So that's the point. But you see, already if you consider that a point source is a flawed tool, essentially, for creating a complex field, right? Because it's trying to produce a field like a single source, and I mean, never mind, I think I made the point. So next concept I'll try to introduce briefly is impulse response. Okay, so what we can do in a space is we can essentially record the space, but that's wishful thinking, because we actually record a relationship between a source and the receiver at their respective points in that very space. So it's a kind of a measurement thing, essentially. And some of you probably know you can use impulse responses to produce reverbs. So we have a tool, essentially, if you have a microphone and you have a speaker, you can produce an analytical signal, and then the microphone will record the characteristic of the room, so to speak, which is actually in time domain. So if you look at the impulse response as a signal, it is what happens in the room after an impact. So if I clap, okay, so you kind of hear clap is a very short sound, and it's a broadband sound. So it excites a lot of the modes in the room, except the bass. And then you actually, because the clap sound is very short, what comes after is the sound of the room, so to speak. So that's the impulse response. I mean, in this case, clap response. And you can do it with balloons and other things as well. So the point here is that if you have an impulse response, then you can take any sound, any recording, and you can simulate the situation whereby that recording source is in that room that you have analyzed. Okay, so that's essentially your convolution. The interesting thing to note is that, I won't go into the details, I think, but the thing to understand is that in order to hear the full response of the room, we have to, well, I hate to say, but you'll understand, we have to play at all frequencies. Okay, because if you have a signal, if I clap, there will be certain frequencies which are absent, which are not there. So in that case, the room won't ring, right? So actually rooms and reverberation, they are passive systems. Okay, so they don't return, they don't inject energy into the acoustical field, but they bounce it back and forth like that. Okay, so I had a lot of fun in the Alps. I have to tell you that me and my family, we were in Gorenjska probably about 300-400 days in total in the 80s and the early 90s. So it was great. Actually, there was 2 rainy days. And I was near Bohinj, and I went up Mostnica, and I went up Pišnica from Gorenjska Gora. So, and what I've done there is I've done 13 location recordings on 4 channels. So 4 microphones. And what this gives me is essentially, that's the output of this project, among other things, is a library of reverbs, library of reverberations derived from these 2 rivers and the waterfalls. So you see now, hopefully it makes sense because you see how, well, you hear how these sounds are actually broadband, equalized as such. So they work in an interesting way. And this is WaterVerb. So what I've done is I've actually mixed these recordings in this room for this room. You have to understand that actually every recorded sound is a simulation. And once you know how to manipulate simulations, you try to do more for it. So essentially the recordings, I mean, it's a funny thing, I hope this will change, but we seem to have this deep conviction that recording is the reality. Because it's kind of the evidence of reality, of something having been the reality. But I don't know why, I think it's cultural, probably will grow out of it. That, it's like, oh yeah, that's what it was. Almost as if there is a direct relationship between what may happen in a room to what a camera captures. So it's quite interesting like that. So I'm just trying to say essentially that these recordings are manipulated to sound the way they do. And but actually it's only equalizing, so it's the balancing of the frequencies that's happening. Now, actually, in the end, I don't know if this is of any interest. There are 16. There's something to be said about. I don't know how deep I want to go into this, but about correlation. Okay, so in acoustics we have this interesting term, and essentially, if the sound is rich, you have a lot of uncorrelated sound energy. And if you imagine these spheres, these 3D spheres spreading from the speakers, it's more geometrically, informed. It's not really organic. It's not like a very busy ocean surface. It's a very, wavy, regular ocean surface. So actually, if you really want that impression of richness in an acoustic field, you really need things to be diffuse. And actually, the reason why I actually have 16 correlated impulse responses is that if you play this on 16 speakers, each reverberation on a separate speaker, you get a very similar characteristic, but there's still a good amount of decorrelation, so you get a very rich field. So what I'm going to play for you will be 4 channels. So it's not 16, but if anyone wants to work with these things, that's the link there. So you can download it, the 208 files. I'll show you briefly how to use it in Ableton. That's maybe one of the most widely spread platforms that I also enjoy. So actually I have 13 locations, 8 files, whatever, and it's all free. So now I'm going to do a little demo for you guys. How are you doing so far? Any questions or something you would like me to discuss more? Cool. So I didn't really prepare much for the demo, to be honest. So it's part of the game for me to show you how I'm trying to get there. So essentially, let's see what's going on here. So I'll try to, let's play it through front and back. So yeah, actually, I'm supposed to say something because showing how to use it in Ableton. So what I have here is 4 tracks. I don't know if you guys, that's sharp or not? Fairly. I have 2 sounds, essentially, and I have the front and the back track. So this is how I do 4 channels here. So the front speakers, you see it here, go to external out 1, 2, and these go to external out 3, 4. And on these channels, I have the convolution reverb, which is your Ableton standard reverb, thanks to his tools and Alex Harker, all very, very good stuff. So I have a stereo reverb for the front and a stereo reverb, another for the back. And this is how it works. So essentially what I'll try now, let's see if it goes through the back. I'll first, before surprising you, I have a dry wet control here. So actually that controls how much reverb I put on. So I'm going to take all the reverb off, and hopefully this goes to, I have to, okay, so that's my dry sound. And then in this Ableton reverb, I'll just briefly show it for the record. You actually, if you want to use it directly from the plugin, you actually have to go all the way to this directory structure. So in users, music, Ableton, factory packs, convolution reverb, and all the rest, just for the record. And then you can, if you put the impulse responses there, then you can see them all here by default. Here are the other factory libraries of reverbs for the plugin. And then if you add it to the appropriate folder, then you get this. So this is what I've been doing. So what you have here are letters for the locations, A, B, C, D. That's the 13 locations. You have the back and the front, and you have the number. So there is 8 each. So actually each location has 16 impulse responses. That's my measure. I've also done previously 16 channel impulse response stuff, so that works well.
How many microphones?
4. So the way I've done this, because it's a stream of sound, it's sliced in time. Because so it kind of gives you that bit extra as well. Yeah. In fact, I'm really curious. I've solved it in like 10 minutes with DeepSeek and Python. Because I was like, oh, how do I export this, cut this, all these files? And in the end, I mean, I never coded Python really. I code otherwise. It was really like, oh, great. That works. With the fade out and everything. Quite good. Recommended. Okay, so that's that. So let's see how this sounds if I add some of this. So what I have here, so the interesting thing here is whether you can hear the minute difference, right? So I'm going to scroll. These are all the same location. Do you hear the difference in reverb there? I don't. From this spot here, not really. It's quite minute, it seems, yeah? But if I go to another location, okay? Now, this is actually EQ'd already. There's a huge amount of sub. So thing to note is that in this room, and the way the library works as well, is that the front speakers have more or less flat content, except no bass, not much bass. And the bass is in the rear channels, so where you see the subwoofers. And the rear speakers also contain more high frequencies. So there's a kind of a balance there. So I can probably make that obvious if I find the WaterVerb front. What was this, B4? Okay. So the interesting thing here is that you see the way this reverb works is that it's a bit alive. It kind of bubbles on a bit. So that's actually this merging of the sound of the water with the reverb, right? So it's not a static one. It's like, but there is some granularity to it. So in essence, the pack is such that typically the front responses, reverb responses, are more musical, and the back are more effect-like. But I think they mix quite well. Let's hear this one. Let's see if I can. So, I mean, these controls work as well. These impulse responses are all 5 seconds long, which is quite long, you could say. So it is recommended, I mean, depending on the application, you can shorten the decay. Let's see, maybe the G.
So from where is this? What location is this?
Let's check. So this is G7. And G7 is G, essentially. That's in unused. It won't be in the quiz, the G. Where is the G? Oh, it will be in the quiz. It was this one.
And this is the location when you recorded, or?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, there's a lot of manipulation in there, options, and this is all very manipulated, so I would be very reluctant to say you are hearing the water, you know, spirit of the water entering the instrument, and then your ears, and who knows what. Yeah, I can show you the locations briefly. So these are the unused ones. I've made 13, and then for the quiz, I've selected 8. So this is up Mostnica, this is Pišnica. And these are already the used ones. It was quite clumsy. I have to admit, when I wrote the application, I was like, okay, if I get this, I'm going to buy a decent 8-channel portable recorder. But it slipped away, and I was actually carrying the laptop, this sound card, and cables and everything. But I got pretty good at it. I used one Neumann 103, TLM 103, one AKJ 414, and 2 DPAs, one, what are those, 6090, 6091, the really small capsules. So essentially large membrane condensers and small membrane condensers. And I was just throwing them, trying to make sure they don't get soaked in snow and water. So I wasn't really monitoring, like, oh, here is a good location. As soon as I saw a good spot where I could pack out, you know, that was it. But I got quite quick at it, actually, in the end. But yeah, it's a stunning scenery, obviously. Actually, I have a conceptual piece. Which is, you're interested in conceptual art? It goes as follows. So it's a set of instructions. That's the musical piece, as a bit of an avant-garde shit, I guess. So take a portable recorder, go to a location rich in environmental sound, record this sound, go back to the studio, erase the recording, and go back to the same location. That's the funny one. Because actually the recording is, I mean, I try to explain why I think that there is a good ground to claim that loudspeaker reproduction is very limited in these particular ways. I mean, not in many others probably. I love loudspeakers myself. But you know, this kind of recording, the relationship with the recording is really interesting. And the point of this conceptual piece is to make the statement that listening on the spot is what really counts. You know, in a way which is more real, right? So something along those lines. Okay, so let's try this. Yeah, let's try it with the back as well. So I guess what you've just heard was only front speakers. And now I'll try to make sure that something plays in the back. Let's try it separately. Okay, something still going on here. This is the front, back. Are they playing the back speakers? Yeah? Yeah? So I can try to do both. Okay, so this one is dramatically louder. And I can try to play you this different material track as well. So I'll first play it for you. I was actually quite stunned. I mean, with these drum sounds, it is fairly self-similar the way it is currently. In fact, we could try to get, you know, the small stream and the waterfall. It could take a while. I'll probably, I guess everyone's really excited to get to the quiz, right? Let's get to the quiz quickly. But yeah, let me just play you this other sound, because I was actually quite surprised. Let me just play it dry first. So I have dry on both channels and both feed from this, which is just a very stupid sequence of notes on a few oscillators, which is the kind of sound that has no reverb at all. It's very dry. So I'll show you how it works. So that's in the front, and this is in the back. And I can try to do something wild. So obviously the front should fit from fronts. So what you hear there is that you see that when the source material is not very noisy, right, then there is no noise in the sound, because the reverb, the fact that it's water and very rich sound does not transpire, so to speak, because only very specific harmonics are being reverberated, right? So there is no energy in the frequencies that are not there to start with, right? And this is what I've kind of had it on the slide, didn't really go into it, but it's interesting to note that it's actually multiplication of the spectra. So if you imagine a spectrum, right, it's a graph that displays frequencies, and typically from low to high, in the mirror image for you guys from left to right, right? So if you imagine a spectrum, maybe the synth or maybe the sound of the water is very flat, and this string sound has really, I mean, the synth has really strong peaks and nothing else. It's a very clean synthetic sound. So when you convolve those two, when you multiply these spectra, it will not remain noisy at all. All the noise is gone, because the energy exists only, right? Because when you multiply with a zero, it's a zero. So if one of the signals, either the convolution kernel, the reverb, or the source, if one of them has zero energy at any frequency, the result will have to have zero at that frequency as well. So it's a kind of a filtering. Essentially, it is a filter. Okay, we typically think of filters as changing the color of the sound, which is the case, but actually filters ring, right? Filters have time properties, and essentially, I mean, this reverb, not really, because it's this granular, watery thing, but a typical reverb will be of that type, that it rings. It's a ringing filter. Okay, guys. Well, I think you're ready for the quiz, are you? So please take these papers, wherever you find them. We didn't come up with... I was wondering if you would agree that the loser gets punished in the end also. So we have something for the winner, but you know, let's make it fair. Dobrodošli. Kako je? A stigli ste na kviz, zakasnili ste nažalost na ovaj demo predavanje, ali tu je kviz.
Ne vem, zakaj sem jaz prebral ob 9:08.
A je. Ako ima još papira, uzmi, može se još uključiti, ne znam. Okay, so I'll introduce the quiz. Or you guys want a smoke break as well? I think that's... Huh?
Ja, smoke break.
Yeah, smoke break? Okay, let's do a smoke break. Yeah, yeah.
One already went out.
Just don't let me smoke much more because...
Ne.
Ne. Za profesora ništa. It's time for the quiz! Okay, people. So you have those papers. The quiz is optional. If you are prone to stress and anxiety, don't do it. Don't even try. I'm not doing it. You know. So it's about matching the recordings to the images. As I said, the recordings are manipulated. The images are, you know, me trying not to fall into the stream and making a photo with a very old telephone, and they don't really represent things very much. So you essentially have two options. You can be very intuitive and just, you know, try to feel the image, feel the sound, and match them. Or you can be a bit more analytical. You can try to be both even. But if you prefer to you know, think more than feel in this context, I'll try to point you to a few important things, which are the size and the speed of the stream that you see, and the rocks as well. So essentially, it's a bit of a half-half. I think everyone should kind of guess the waterfalls from streams. That's kind of doable. But actually, the sounds are fairly familiar, especially because they are all produced to fill the room nicely. So you're also very welcome to just enjoy and just fade out. So the structure will be 2 runs of 9 minutes. So I think you can do best if you use the first round. So I'm going to play 8 soundscapes, 1 minute each. So it takes 9 minutes to go through all 8 recordings. And in the meanwhile, I will be showing you the pictures. So in the first run, what I can recommend is if you hear the sound and you say, well, that's definitely a waterfall, then you can say not 3, which is, you know, the stream that you're seeing. So you can kind of make notes on guesses. You can also try to describe the things, but that's probably a bit over the top. So in any case, the first run will give you the sense of the range of things. You know, what is the most forceful, loudest, what is the smallest, and then you will see in the pictures as well some pretty nice waterfalls and some streams. So you can actually work on the combinatorics of it as well. You know, that's for the analytical approach. Okay, so on the paper, so you have the left column, which is the sound 1, sound 2, sound 3, and until 8. And then you have the rightmost column where I expect numbers of the images. So the images will be as follows. So this is image 1, image 2, image 3, 4, 5. So what I'll try to do is, while I play one sound, so one recording lasts for a minute. Within this minute, I will scroll through all 8. And then when the next one starts, I will scroll back from 8 back to 1, just to confuse you a bit more. Okay? So
So we write in the number of the image that fits the sound.
yeah. So if
This 8 is
yeah, exactly. So for example, let's do a little brief intro. So this is sound 1, and I will announce the sounds. Okay, so sound 1. And then while it plays, I will show you these. I have 5 seconds for each, about. So you say, oh no, it's not 3, right? This is definitely not 3. So at this stage, if you want to be analytical, you have the notes there, you say not 3. You know, and then we'll do a little pause in between, you can play with this. I mean, let's see how it goes, yeah? But I'd love to clarify more things if anyone can ask a question. No, it's really good if you know immediately what to do, because otherwise things get very messy. I mean, if you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah? Any other? Shall we start? Are you ready? Are you sure? Oh my God, I'm so excited. Okay, so I'll start with imaging, and here goes. So 8 sounds, 1 minute each. I will announce the index. I hope I don't mess it up. And here we go. It's the electricity here, I'm afraid. Oh God. Can you switch off the heating? I think that it's off. Yeah. Oh God, gone. It did a few glitches earlier, but this is a bit over the top. Let's see. Let me try and play it. Oh, the audio device is gone. Curious.
Maybe try the buffer. The larger or smaller.
Yeah.
Larger.
Larger,
Yeah, maybe.
I hope. I think it's the. Yeah? No. Maybe it's the fact that I'm recording. Anyway, this doesn't make sense to record. Goodbye.